Stacy, I will introduce you in just a minute. Could you remind me how to have the dialogue transcription happening live?
Yes, I think it's been
remember?
a long time. But it's been a long
hold
time
on.
since
I think I have
captions.
it. Set up manual show captions.
Yeah, let's see.
Yes.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Can you see it? Can people
yeah.
see the captioning?
As a participant has enabled closed captioning, who can see this? Yes, I think. Well, it says that you've enabled it, so I don't know. I don't see it popping up on my screen though.
I see it on my screen, and I'm looking at the full screen, but
all right. So if you can see it, that's good.
And I'm going to make you a co-host, Stacy. So I'm going to share a brief start to the presentation and then turn it over to you real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the transcript on the side now.
Okay, and Julie just said if individuals can turn on closed captioning, and I turned it on for myself as well. So hopefully people can see what we're saying. And I take no responsibility if something I say comes out with a word that doesn't look so good. So we have a lot of people, so we're going to get started. And our main part of the meeting today is to talk about program planning, course selection, and the course selection process. And we're getting ready for the 23-24 school year, which is pretty crazy, but exciting all at the same time. Before I jump into that presentation, and believe me, maybe 15 to 20 minutes for the presentation, and then plenty of time for questions. Ms. Vigiani, Jenny's with me. She's the director of counseling at the high school. So we'll be here to take questions. Got plenty of time for that. But I did invite Stacy Kugel, who is our high school, middle school instructional technology specialist. And part of our goal this year in working with families across the district, at least for the high school, one of our goals is to try to make the tools that parents are asked to use a little more streamlined, or to help educate parents a little bit more on what the tools are, what you really need to know, and share that with you so that it's easier to understand. And if you're not using them, then you can get started, and it will tell you what these tools do. So Stacy helped develop a draft of an outline that we will eventually send out to all parents. I've had our PTSA chairs, Becky D'Angelo Veach, Jennifer Alexson, and Leslie Seltzer Clinton. They gave me feedback for Stacy, and now I'm going to have you see it, and then we'll go from there. So Stacy, you've got the floor, and then I'll take it over with the presentation. Looks like you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry. So rusty, you know, you get off of Zoom and now you don't know what to do anymore. Okay, so you should be seeing my shared screen that says BCSD technology information. Is that correct? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is the document that I created. I actually handed it out at sixth grade orientation. It looked a little different than this for the sixth grade students who are coming into getting their one-to-one devices, but I think it'll be very valuable for everybody. And so I've tailored it really towards Dr. Hall's needs, and then based on some feedback I got yesterday from the PTSA. So this is student login information that we kind of reconnect keep, but it's good for parents to have, just to know, especially, if a student is, not remembering how to log in. And then the parents also know what the login is as well. And of course, their grad year changes. So this is just an example of 2023, but every person has their unique grad year. At the bottom of the page, there are the most important apps that you need to be aware of. And the one that will take you to everything on this page is called Parent Portal. So on this page, there's a QR code, and if you scan it with your phone, you will go to this page here, which takes you to the portal page. Did it switch to portal page?
It did.
Yes, okay, good, because you never know what's happening on your end. And on this portal page, you will see the School Tool app, the Schoology app. You'll see Parent Square here. You know, My School Bucks is probably important as well to you for payment and stuff like that. So this is where you can find all of the apps that are on this sheet there in one area. So it's like your table of contents. But when you get into those apps, each of those apps obviously does something different. So this is the usability of Parent Square and what it is for. But to get to Parent Square, if you haven't been there yet, to log in, this QR code will take you to this Parent Square sign-in page, where you will go in and just sign into your account. If you've got the mobile app on your phone, then you probably are using that more frequently than you are on your computer. So that's the Parent Square communication tool. My knowledge of Parent Square is limited only to my ability to use it from my user end, because I don't have classes. So from a teacher end and a parent end, it's a little more limited. But if you have questions, you may certainly forward them to me and I can find the answers. Or Dan Goldman is also very well versed in Parent Square issues as well. So this is what Parent Square will do for you. So it's our main tool of communication, basically, and a hub for a whole bunch of other things. Teachers use it to send out permission slips or sign up forms. Sports schedules are there. So a really great place, one-stop shopping kind of thing. School Tool is for both parents and students. And this QR code will take you to the technology support page for School Tool and parents and how it can assist you in using this tool. And this whole page is basically, this is our thread up here. If you go to our district homepage and then you go into departments and then you go into technology, then you'll see all of the resources on the left. So basically, there's just separate links to a larger space. So this page will give you some more insight on how to use School Tool and navigate through grades and taking a look at what's going on in your students' academic life. The next tool that you might find helpful is also for students and parents, but it's used a little bit differently. School Tool, kids can get their schedules, they can check their assignments and grades. Parents can see exactly the same thing that the students can see. So it's the same usability for both parents and students. But Schoology is our learning management system where teachers will house curriculum materials. They will generate online tests. Students can submit assignments. There is a digital calendar where teachers can put the assignments on there. The students can see their workflow and sort of plan for their time management. If I've got 2 exams on one day, how will I prepare for these, in advance and such. And then parents will, when you create your Schoology account, you'll be able to access their courses. You'll be able to see the academic calendar. You'll be able to see the course materials too, but not really many parents dive in to, take a look at those deeply, but it is available to you. If you wanted to help your student with an assignment, you can go into the actual assignment. You can see what's there. So you can see what the student sees as well, but what you're going to run and probably use it for is more just to sort of track, the academic calendar. And just to note that Schoology also has a gradebook feature. So School Tool, while it is our main hub and our go-to place for our final grades, many teachers are using Schoology's gradebook, and they are doing a gradebook sync this year. So it'll take their Schoology grades and it'll transfer to School Tool. So you can and you may see in the gradebook feature grades in Schoology. And then when you go to School Tool, it should look, if they're doing the sync, it should look almost identical with the final averages. But just to be very clear that School Tool is the final grade. So if there's a discrepancy and the grade is higher in Schoology and lower in School Tool is the grade that the teacher is representing for your student. So that's just important to be aware of when you're looking at the gradebook feature in Schoology. And then lastly, there's this help desk, and we just had a meeting earlier today with our operational side and letting parents know that that this exists, that mostly the kids put in the tickets for the help desk. So that Schoology QR code will take you to the Schoology page, similar to the School Tool. And then this is the technology help page that's also in the same area. So there's some quick reference guides in here too. So that QR code for the help desk will take you to that place to get some additional information. And on the second page, this is really more about the Schoology access, because this tends to be the greatest area of struggle, I should say, for parents. And if a person is new to the district and doesn't have a school tool account yet, that has to be established first before they can have Schoology access, because there's a user-defined code in the student's profile that you need to use to set up your parent's Schoology access. So if there is, if you know of someone or you're struggling with school tool, Laura Deckman is the one who handles the school tool accounts. And or if they come to me, I forwarded them to her, and we tag team that. This QR code will take you to Schoology, where you will go, which will take you right here, and it'll say Power School, because Power School is the company and Schoology is the product. It'll take you there, and this is where you would register if you are a new user to Schoology, and it walks you through a series of setting up your account, and it'll ask for a special code. That special code comes from this user-defined field in School Tool. And it's very well hidden, and so it's a hard thing for parents to find. We'd love for it to move to a different location, like right underneath the student's email, but I don't think our providers are going to do that for us. So in the user-defined tab, there's a drop-down menu here with lots of things, and when you go to LMS, which stands for Learning Management System, you'll see Schoology Parent Access Code there. And so there's a little visual there, and it'll take you through the steps that you would need to do to register. Once you have set up a Schoology account, then you can join groups. So many coaches will create a group in Schoology, and they'll share with you a special code. There is a parent tech flight group that's rather new that we're building at this time that you could join using this particular code. So once you get in, it's pretty intuitive. It'll ask you can join a course or a group, and it'll ask for the group access code. To add your multiple children, which will pop up under your name, there's a place to do that too. And then for additional information on Schoology with adding children, there's a parent guide. This QR code will take you to the parent guide, which is looks like this. So there's lots of different things in here you can cycle through for issues with Schoology that could be a self-help area for you to find what you need. And then this here will just take you back to that technology page that I've been accessing throughout this conversation. So I think that's it in a nutshell. Did I do good, Mr. Dr. Hall?
Yes,
110 minutes? Okay.
Thank you, Stacy. I bet people didn't know that Channing Taining was a Brighton grad. Isn't that Channing Taining in the picture?
Oh yeah. You know what? I don't know. Dr. Leaner had this shared this with us, so I was like, I don't know who this is, but
no, he's not a Brighton grad. I just made that up. I think pull this picture. Okay. The other thing is that I think for parents who've been in the district for a long time or had middle and high school kids who've maybe graduated, the battle over Schoology grade books and school tool grade books and where you can find grades that are updated has been, that was a battle raging for over a decade. And finally, and I want to thank Stacy, she really helped. Mike Leaner got it started, but Stacy helped our teachers to get to a point where they understand that School Tool and Schoology do sync now for the most part, and that grades in School Tool should be pretty much reflective of Schoology. So you only have to worry about School Tool grades. You can find the assignments that they use, what their running averages, and their current grades. So if you don't want to go to Schoology and deal with that, you don't need to. You can get it all right from School Tool, and then Parent Square with all that communication that we're starting to do now to keep track of things. So Stacy, thanks for putting that together and our PTSA feedback. And now I'm clear more on what the parent portal actually is. And I think we're using that with other words. So parent portal gets you to all the different apps that you can go to quickly. And that's fabulous. So before I move on to our main part of the presentation, are any quick questions out there? Okay, Stacy, thank you so much. If you want to stay, you're welcome to, but don't feel like you have to.
I'm going to jet off. I'm still cleaning up some of the Microsoft mess from last week. So
okay.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and pull up the PowerPoint. Okay, I see Jennifer Alexion on the screen. Can you see the presentation now on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, I'm gonna hide everybody so I can see. So thanks for coming again and giving up your afternoon. Hopefully we can give you a lot of good information and then have plenty of time for questions. So as I share with every meeting, that is our mission statement at Brighton. And we want to make sure that we always create a school that is welcoming, safe, professional, and free from harassment for all of our students and staff. And it's a daily mission of ours, and it definitely takes a whole community to make that happen. More to come, but that is where we are. I believe in that mission 150%. And I know Jenny does. The part of that is making kids feel. There we go. So we already did that. So the timeline. I'm just trying to move this thing. So our overview timeline for the school year. So letters were mailed home. I did check in with some people who live in Brighton, parents, colleagues with kids here in the building. The mailings did go home. Each mailing was specific to a grade level. So you can see what the requirements are for a student going from 9th to 10th grade, 10th to 11th, or 11th to 12th. And it's very detailed from the counseling department. We started that maybe 3 years ago, and I appreciate the time they put in, because this is one of the most important things we do in terms of mapping out what students will be taking as part of their academic schooling over 4 years. So that they were all sent out. Hopefully you have that. Teachers are currently in the midst of talking to students about their recommendations for students, and students making recommendations to teachers about what courses in their department they might like to take in the next school year, or they have questions about. So conversations are happening back and forth with students, teachers, and probably about 4 years ago, we started, and then it was just before COVID, we started doing surveys in every single department that every student took to give feedback to their teachers as they made recommendations about courses they may or may not want to take. And that's used to help maybe encourage kids to take an advanced course if the student isn't putting advanced down, whether a teacher might feel like they have the potential to do that, or if they're putting advanced courses down, having a conversation with the student about how many advanced courses might they take, and are they going to be able to put in the workload or the time required to do hopefully well, and have those conversations ahead of time. We didn't always do that. So we refined this process, and it's getting better and better. January 25th, I believe we will be mailing out course recommendations to families, and basically we'll just get a list of all the courses that your child was recommended for. You may see 10, 11 courses on that sheet. That doesn't mean they're going to take 10 or 11 courses during the school year. That wouldn't be possible. But those are the courses that they were recommended for. You can sit down and have a conversation with them. The students can see, if they don't know already, which courses they were recommended for or not recommended for. You can start to have a dialogue with them. If you have questions about the course that they were recommended for, you'll see in another part of the presentation, you can go to the Program of Studies book, read a description about that course, and see what it's about, and then have a conversation with your student, if you'd like, about that course. We have our 8th grade family night coming up for students and families. I encourage students to come this year. We have a student panel, thanks to Jenny, helping to organize that with the parent meetings that we've done the last several years. We're doing it for 8th grade family night as well. Students and families are encouraged to come, learn about how that process is a little bit different from the one I'm sharing now, but the middle school kind of handles all of the course selections there. Then, I don't know, Jenny, do you want to talk about the next two?
Just back to the course recommendations, I wanted to give an example of when you do get their course recommendations and you see a number of classes that teachers may be recommending. For example, the social studies department, if your child seems to have an affinity for Global 1 or Global 2 or US history, they might be recommended for AP European history or AP Human Geography or is it Human Geography?
Human geography.
Human geography,
Human geography.
psychology, sociology, AP Psych. So obviously, your student isn't going to take all of those classes, but you might want to have a discussion and look at the program of studies to see if there's one or two of those classes they might want to take in addition to their course requirements. Another thing that is popular, you'll see, is that the elective classes. So if your child is in an art class or a tech class, they may recommend them for 3, 4, 5 half-year classes that they think that might fit their commitment to those to those subject areas. But again, they do not have to take all of them. But I do want to remind folks that we do have a New York State has a credit of art that is required, art or music, and some tech classes do count for credit for art classes. So be sure to have those conversations. I just met with a family this morning that had no idea their child is signed up as a freshman for 2 business classes. So they still need that half or that art credit or music credit or 2 tech classes that meet the art requirement. And we can talk more about that, but you'll see those kinds of course selections. And then where did you leave off? So we'll be meeting, yeah. So after that's all finished and the recommendations are made with the teachers, we will start our one-to-one meetings, and we've already sent out notification. And I think actually meetings and appointments are coming in pretty quickly now. Courtney Stern sent out through Parent Square all of our Calendly addresses so that students could go in and schedule their appointment with their counselor, and also the counselor breakdown. So between January 30th and March, this says 10th, but I think it's actually the 8th. We will be meeting one-on-one with every single student on our caseload. And our best hope is that they've had a discussion with you, and you have kind of mapped out what you think is appropriate. What we want students to challenge themselves appropriately, but we also want students to have time in their schedule to eat, time in their schedule to visit with friends, or go to a teacher and get help, or make up a test if they're sick. I mean, these are all things that happen in life. And we have to plan for those with students during the school day. And I think it's really important that those conversations happen not only here at school, but also at home, so that when they come in and they meet with us, we have those 6 classes plus phys ed, in some cases 7 classes plus phys ed. Phys ed runs every other day, so they will have that free period along with flex. That would be for the student that really has great time management, that really enjoys challenging themselves, has maybe more time outside of school than someone who plays 3 sports or is involved in the performing arts or has a job plus sports. When you take a heavy caseload, you're going to need to have more time at home to review your lesson plans and to study for tests and do assignments. So that will happen with us basically through February. And then after that is all done, we will send home a final course request sheet will be mailed home at the end of March. And we will go from there to make the master schedule. And when I say we, I mean Matt Cuomo.
End of March, before spring break,
Yep.
You'll be getting those verifications of the specific courses your child will be scheduled for. And just to note that when you get that list of these are the courses that will schedule for them, the master schedule is built to try to minimize the conflicts as possible, as many conflicts as possible, minimize that. But it's inevitable there's going to be conflicts, and some students will not be able to fit all of those classes into their schedule, and the counselors will be talking to them around June.
We hope to have.
Okay. By the end of June, before they go off for the summer, that's the hope, that they will know if they have a conflict and they have to choose a different course.
Before we go on, are there any questions about that portion? Because that's a lot of information.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
My question is there some kind of a master list of all the electives that are available, so that it doesn't come like as a surprise of, like, I had asked my daughter what are the possible electives, and she did not really know. So I would,
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yes. And I'm going to show you that in the next slide.
It was, the course elective was also just sent home. There's a
A 2-page,
yes, 2-page document.
maybe it was 3 pages, but it's a 2-pager where it just lists each department and the courses that that department has. It's not a big description of them, but it gives the name of all the courses. And that
was
includes,
this sent out?
you should have received it at home.
Last week.
Okay, I have not received it yet, so maybe it's on the way.
Well, I would ask any other parents, if you haven't received it yet, I think most people did, maybe there was an issue. If you want to call our registrar, the registrar's office at the high school, we can make sure that you get one. I don't know if there was a problem with the mailing. Sometimes things happen, but hopefully most people, I think, have received it.
Okay, thank you.
If my child doesn't make an appointment that comes through when we reach out, yes, absolutely. So we use that last week, which is the first week in March, to kind of make sure that we get every student that did not come for their appointments. We review our caseloads and check off the ones we've met with, and then kind of find those other students that maybe didn't come down.
And there's a question here, the middle school. So middle school really doesn't have a lot of elective courses. Most of the courses at the middle school are mandated courses at 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. Language is kind of, well, it's somewhat of an elective depending on the year. I mean, kids do have to take a language, but the middle school, so 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th grade schedule building is a little different. When they do 8th to 9th grade schedule building, they will use our scheduling system in all of our elective courses.
So the high school counselor on the 24th of January to go in and talk to all of the English classes for 8th graders to talk about the electives in our schedule and how to choose a well-balanced schedule. So we'll be doing that on the 24th. I know the 23rd, the counselors there are going to be reviewing all the electives and all the classes in the high school, and then we come over and help them build their schedule. Does that?
Well, quick question: if this 3-page document, I know I won't have time to receive this in mail now. So is it possible to have this over the email or something?
I'm going to show you a link where you can look at it right online.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I'll try to put the link actually in the chat in just a second. So on this page, so program planning. If you go to the BCSD website, so just bcsd.org, go to the high school, and under the first page where it says about BHS, there's a link to the program of study. So I'm going to try, and I would ask Jennifer again, when I click on this, do you still see the PowerPoint or do you see the website?
I'm still seeing the PowerPoint now, Tom. You did have a window pop up there for just a second, but it seems to have disappeared.
All right, let me just quickly reshare. So there it is. Sure. Can you see the website now?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so you go on the Brighton Schools website, go to our schools, and click on the high school. And then right at the very beginning where it says BHS, and it's got about BHS, contact information, principals page, program of studies is a link right off the BHS page. If you go to program of studies, on this page, right here is the program of studies for next school year. And on the left-hand side, there's all sorts of other information about certain AP courses, videos you can hear, read, watch of different electives and courses. But for what you're looking for, when you click on the program of studies, it will bring you to our actual handbook. It's a long document, lots of pages, but there's a table of contents. And in that table of contents, you'll see every department is listed and it lists their courses. And the course master list on page 99 is basically the 2-page document where it lists every single course that we offer. So you should be able to see this. It has art, business, math, music, then phys ed, social studies, and science. So that's a 2, maybe it goes on to a little bit more. There's world languages on the last page. So that is a very short version of the whole program of studies. And then if you want to read about an actual course, I'll go up and click here. So you're in math right now on page 41 of the program of studies. So you want to see what abstract math is about, or pre-calculus, pre-calc honors, what's the difference between the two? You can read that description, and that should give you everything you need to know about the courses that we offer. And if you have the sheet mailed to you that lists all the courses they were recommended for, and you wanted to look at that with this booklet, it can give you a better idea of what those courses actually are if you're not sure.
But excuse me, but what about the electives? Is it written somewhere, like in parentheses, that this course will be elective? Like I received the mail, but I just don't know, like, for example, if technology, is it elective or not?
So,
Theater,
well, I'll try. So
elective or not?
No, that's a good question. So there's courses, I mean, kind of all of our courses here, except for a few, are really elective courses because everybody has to take English 9, let's say, and everybody has to take English 10, but not everybody has to take English 11. They can take AP language, or they can take English 11. So many of our courses you can take and they'll count as credits. The counselor's there to help to make sure that they're going to receive all of the credits and courses that they need to graduate. But a lot of the courses, depending on the student and their interest, there's some that they all have to take, but many of our courses can be considered electives because you can elect to take them. They'll give you credit, they'll fulfill some sort of requirement. And as long as the counselor's working with them to make sure they have their graduation requirements, there's really no set elective course.
And this might help explain things. So New York State requires all students to graduate with 22 credits. Of those 22 credits, 4 years have to be English, 4 years have to be social studies, 3 have to be math, 3 have to be science. You need half a credit of health to graduate. You need that 1 credit in art or music or technology that counts for art. And you need phys ed all 4 years of high school. So say that totals 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Say that totals 16 credits in 1 year of foreign language or 3 years of foreign language. Anything above and beyond that to total that 22 credits is considered an elective. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If you sit down with your student and, they want to take all these different courses, that's great. When they meet with their counselor, they'll make sure that they have the required things and then all the things that could count as elective. But it's hard to just say this course is elective, this course is mandated, because that isn't always the case. So, but the counselors will work with them to make sure they have what they need. And I'm going to show a slide that tells you every year or what courses are required for graduation.
We also review this with your students. First seminar, 9th grade seminar, we review what the classes they need for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and then obviously 12th grade, they're done. But we would give them a copy of their transcript. We review all the requirements for graduation. We review the classes or the Regents exams that they need for graduation, et cetera. So, and then every parent night, that's a big topic for every parent night through high school.
Excuse me, a quick question, please. This recording available in the website of school?
So what I'm going to do is, as soon as this is over, I'll probably have it posted Friday afternoon. I'll put the PowerPoint that I have here and the recording together in just one specific Parent Square email. So it
Thank you so
just says, here's the PTSA meeting with the principal if you missed it, or you want to refer to it. So I'll be sending that out tomorrow with the PowerPoint.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I think we covered most of what's on here, the courses, where you can find them. And I'll just say with introductory AP courses, one of the things that we are also trying to do as a district is to encourage our seniors, well, all of our kids, but specifically to have seniors graduate with at least one AP course, if that makes sense for them. So one advanced course that if they're going on to college where, 89% of our students go off to a 2 or 4 year school, that maybe they've had an experience with an AP class. AP Human Geography, AP Psych, and AP Computer Science Principles are all what we call introductory AP courses. You don't necessarily need to have any courses prior to this to take them, besides having some basic understanding of, what school and have an interest in maybe one of those areas. 9th graders can take AP Geography, and then we have all the rest of the courses are 10th through 12th grade. So those are some intro courses, and we'd love to have our seniors graduate with at least one. Currently, we range from 75% to as high as 78% of our seniors graduating with one AP. And I would hope that we could at least get up to 85, because 15% of our kids, some of them go off to the trade schools, so they're not going to need an AP. We have other kids in special programs, they wouldn't be taking an AP, but we're always working to try to get more kids to at least have that experience before they graduate.
Excuse me, can I ask
yes.
a question, please? Regarding AP, because I did not understand really. Like, for example, if I want my child to do AP Maths, does he have to go through Algebra 2, Algebra 2 honors, function, and can you
Yeah.
go to math before without, like, this year is in 9th grade, and I had him geometry because we are French, and in France we do algebra and geometry together. So I just didn't want him to miss like 1 year, and now next year he's gonna. I would like him to do AP, but is it possible for him to do AP, or does he have to go to do Algebra 2 and geometry honors? Well, I don't really understand this.
So what I would say is, it sounds like you have a very specific question, and you should probably reach out to your student's counselor to have that conversation. But briefly, I can say is they do need to have Algebra 2, and that's a prerequisite. So in the program of studies that I just showed you on the web page, when you open up that booklet and you look at the different courses, in that course description, it will say, what are the prerequisites that are required to be in this course? And then what's the other prereqs? And that's it. There's something else. Okay. There's some courses have prerequisite courses that you must have in order to take them. Some courses you can take a course at the same time as that course, but generally there'll be prerequisites all spelled out, so you can look at that for yourself as well. But in your case, that I would talk to the counselor too.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So a lot of things happen in the spring semester. Some kids really turn it on, they do better. So maybe a teacher recommended a student for a class. By the time middle of the year comes, they're saying, you know what, this kid is really turning things up, doing much better. I'm going to change my recommendation. So they might change their recommendation. They can do that through June. We do make a lot of decisions about courses in the spring based on what students choose. That's why it's critical that once they make final decisions, that their schedule is pretty much going to stay the same. We budget for teachers, we budget for sections, all based on the courses that they choose, between January and March, and we make our staffing and our master schedule according to that. So if we have a lot of students drop, or we have a lot of students who want to take another course, we might not have room for them. So it's critical that this process is thoughtful and you do your best that you can to select those courses, and the students select those courses that they know that they're going to want to take in the next year. Lunch, I'm going to talk about in just a second, but we certainly want kids to eat lunch. But if you know about Brighton High School, we don't have a set lunch period for a variety of reasons. So that is a good time at the end before the end of June that you reach out to the student's counselor to make sure they have a time in the middle of the day to eat lunch. Our schedules will be available on the parent student portal end of August. And during that time, students will see their schedules. We ask that they all keep their schedule, try it out for the first 2 cycles, and they can drop or move a level within the first 2 cycles of the year. And if it's after that, then we have a committee that meets with them to determine if they should drop or move a level in that course. A lot of academic support options that you can talk to your student's counselor about. If they have help this year, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to continue with that help in the following year, but most likely they'll have some sort of support unless you have a conversation or a meeting where the kid's doing so well, we're removing the support, they don't need it. But we have a variety of options to get help during the school year, during the school day, before, after school, flex time. And if a student's struggling, we have the BST, our Brighton support team, where we talk about kids academically, socially, emotionally, what supports they need. The support centers really for general ed students and students with 504s who go for supports. And then, of course, we have all the special ed options for students with IEPs. Let's skip that. Lunch, we want kids to eat. Lunch is served at Brighton High School from 9:30 to 1:30. We don't have set lunch periods. Pretty much every period between 3rd and 7 could be considered a lunchtime. We have a very open schedule, open campus. Kids can leave, kids can come back. They want to grab lunch at 12 Corners because they have a free period. They can sign out, they can get lunch somewhere else, bring it back to school or eat there and come back. And we've had this for decades and decades and decades, but not a designated lunch period. We schedule all of our academic classes during the school day. Some schools can't fit in labs. So like in Pittsford, science labs are done after school on a rotating basis. We don't do that. We try to end the school day at 2:47 and then kids do their after school activities, and there's no classes that continue besides getting help. We do have a lot of students who like to double up in science. And when they do that, there's 2 lab periods. If they had a designated lunch period, most likely they'd never be able to double up in science. It's a family decision though, and not every student should go and have a lunch period at a different time of the day. They should have a set time. We want kids to eat, of course, but the way our schedule's set, and if you ask a freshman versus a senior, would you want to set lunch period in the day? Many of our freshmen will say, yes, I do. But seniors will say, really, no, thank you. I didn't want one because it allowed me to be much more flexible with my schedule throughout 4 years of high school. Encourage freshmen to keep periods open, freeze open to take and have a lunch. And we do allow kids to eat in classrooms, unlike the middle school. And again, they can eat and snack throughout the day in most places. Ultimately, it's a family decision whether you want a designated lunch period in the middle of the day. We want kids to take a minimum of 6 classes plus phys ed. 5 would be the very minimum, but most kids take 6 classes phys ed. Then they have a period free for lunch. And if you want it in the middle of the day, we can do that, but it might force some classes to have to move, or there might be some decisions that a kid has to take, whether I can take these 2 science classes or I can take this elective I want, because once the master schedule is built, the classes are where they are, and there's going to be maybe some conflicts. If you try to squeeze in more than 6 classes, that's going to definitely restrict your schedule. And if you have supports like Brighton Support Center or other supports, that could cause some problems with free periods, and you might have to make some decisions on what you want to do next. But if you want designated time for your child to eat, we can certainly accommodate and put that in. Jenny mentioned the graduation requirements before. Ours have not really changed much, except when the state's requirements change. 22 credits to graduate from high school. There's an advanced diploma, a regent's diploma. Most of our kids do get the regent's diploma with advanced designation. And the big difference is you take more Regents exams and you have more credits of language under your belt. Anything else?
No. The main difference, it might be on the next slide, it might not be, is that for an advanced Regents diploma, you need all 3 years of math Regents exams. So you need algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 for your Regents exams. For an advanced Regents or Regents diploma, you need all 3 years, but you only need to pass 1 Regents exam. So that's a big difference, along with science. Not as big, but you can pass any science Regents exam for a Regents diploma, and you need living environment and 1 other Regents for an advanced Regents. And again, we talk about this a lot with your students. Their departments, those departments talk to the students, plus their counselors, and then also in seminar, in 9th grade link, and orientation. So they hear this over and over again.
There's a total of 10 Regents exams that a kid could take, and many of our kids do, but 9 exams are required for the advanced diploma. And as Jenny said, all of this is covered, the one-on-one meetings, the seminar meetings. Your kids will have what they need to graduate. And believe you me, if they don't, by the time they get, you're going to know that after 1 year if they're not on track to graduate. And the kids are going to know that too. So, they do a phenomenal job with that. It's a lot to keep track of, but they do.
Can I have a quick question, please?
Go ahead.
Do you think in next years or after your schools will cancel required courses, just choice for students?
Are you asking if we will only have required classes available and not elective?
No, not elective. Do you have plan for make students freedom to choose any courses like history, social study, or cancel maybe science? Or do you have plan for that next year or in future?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, there are some, I'm hearing talk of some private schools in the area that are making a lot of cuts like that, but that is not a discussion here.
Okay, thank you.
We had to drop some electives several years ago. We dropped driver's ed, but everybody dropped driver's education. We had Latin. We ended up dropping Latin. A lot of that was enrollment based. We used to have a very small Chinese class. We had to drop that. We couldn't find a teacher. So a few classes here and there were dropped, sign language at one point in time. I wish I could bring them all back, but in lots of cases, we didn't have enough students to support the classes. So they were cut and reduced compared to other courses, but we do not have any plans to do that next year. What you see in the program of studies, if we have enough people to run those courses, we have to have at least typically 15 kids to sign up for a course for it to run. If we only have 6 kids sign up and it's not some required class that we absolutely need to offer, we won't offer those courses that are under enrollment. So I don't want you to think that we cut a class because it wasn't running. It may be because it was below 15 and we had to reduce it because we typically only run classes 15 students or more.
And that does not happen in those core classes like you were mentioning, social studies or science.
No, that wouldn't happen. It'd be a very specific elective like TV production and studio or something like that. Sometimes we don't have enough kids to run it, so it runs every other year. AP Art History, that might run every other year because we don't have enough students for it to run every year, but it will run every other year, which is great. And we try to make sure we can do that with some courses and say, if you're not going to take it as a freshman, you'll definitely get to take it as a junior. Or, if you can't as a sophomore, maybe as a senior.
Okay,
And if you ever feel like this, please just reach out and ask. You can always email me. I'll forward the email to the correct person.
I think this is good for students in high school to choose any courses that you need. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. So again, I don't want you to feel like the people on the screen. Ask questions, reach out to us. We will do our best to answer them and get some answers for you. And now I will just turn it over to you if there are questions. I don't see anything to chat right now, but I'll open it up. You should be able to unmute yourself and ask any questions or PTSA, if you have something that you've heard from parents you want us to clarify, happy to do that too. We still got just about 10 minutes or so.
I have one quick question. I've heard that if kids are taking a varsity sport that fulfills the PE requirement, is that true?
Only senior year.
Only senior year. Okay. If you have a child that participates in a sport very frequently, like mine does outside of school, is there some way to try to free up some time in their schedule by having that requirement met?
So without having Nate Merritt, who's our athletic director, health PE director, here to answer it definitively, what I will say to you is, from what I am told with New York State, the phys ed requirement is a requirement that must be met in a physical education classroom. And, you know, there's a set curriculum that they teach, a set amount of skills that they teach through these classes in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade PE. And New York State doesn't even want us as a school district to offer up these options for seniors. We have to push at different times to get that senior exemption. Many schools have done away with that, and they don't even give kids the opportunity to be exempt even in their senior year or any year from phys ed, and they just have to take phys ed for 4 full years, all the curriculum, everything they offer. And New York State, it's been a mandated requirement since as far as I could go back, and they're very specific about not granting credit for non-physical education certified courses or not taught by a certified New York State phys ed teacher. You'd have to contact state ed to try to get some change made. I mean, kids need physical activity, so I think it's a good requirement. However, like you're saying, some of our kids are active, you know, every weekend and dance. I mean, some, you know,
5 days a week.
they've got personal training, maybe they do, but if it's not part of the curriculum and not done by a certified phys ed teacher, it doesn't really count. So
Okay.
we're lucky the seniors have that option. And one thing I will say about phys ed next year, we're moving to more gender mixed classes. So we traditionally had a 9th, 10th grade gender male class, female classes. 11th, 12th grade has always been a mixed group, but we're looking to do that in more of our 9th and 10th grade, or maybe all of them next year. And having kids with more options as part of those courses. So there's some choice compared to what they've been, maybe forced to do, or like, this is the only option you can do.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one question. If it is, I saw one of the slides which was showing 6.5 credits where students then figure out how they are going to have lunch. I'm not here, so I'm just trying to understand how that works. So culturally, do they walk in late, go to the lunch room, and they are able to even miss classes? How do they make that choice? Just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it is confusing. That's a good question. So there's 8 periods in the day. So if they have 6 classes, so 6 periods plus phys ed, call that 7 periods. Phys ed only meets every other day. So they would have every other day phys ed free, and then they would have a whole nother period somewhere in their schedule free as well. So what Dr. Hall was alluding to previously is if you get your child's schedule and they don't have that period free somewhere between 3rd and 7th period, which is when the cafeteria is open, then we would try to adjust their schedule and still give them all the things that they chose and allow them to have a free period when the cafeteria was open. And probably what you're really asking is how does that work? When your child has a quote unquote free period, they are not assigned to any one place. They're not assigned to a study hall. They're not assigned to a teacher. The campus is open, meaning they can go to the library, they can go see a teacher, they can sit in the hallway, they can go to the cafeteria, they can go outside on the gym,
Got it. Thank you.
So, does that help?
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, I think freshmen sometimes they struggle a little bit in the first few months to find the group they're going to eat with or when they're going to eat with. But by the time they get through part of their freshman year, the majority, not all, but the vast majority find what they're going to do and appreciate not being forced to sit at a table with a bunch of kids that they don't know or find a place to even eat. They can go with their one or two best friends and go eat outside.
There's tables all over the building to eat. Question about phys ed: how do students get exempt from phys ed, or how do they know they can be exempt? They need to talk to Nate Merritt, the athletic director, while they're in season. And just to be clear, they only can be exempt for 1 quarter each semester. So say they play a fall sport, they play soccer, they can be exempt for the time they're playing soccer. So they need to join back to the PE class, usually 2nd quarter. And same with spring sports. Say they play run track, they can be exempt from PE while they're running track, and then they need to join the class. So usually it ends up being a half a credit with exemption, and is tracked by the phys ed teacher and the athletic director, and there's a form that has to be signed. Does that help, Heather?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I was just trying to figure that out. Like, do they do that once the school year starts?
Yeah.
So, or do they, okay, so they attend PE and then get that ball rolling?
Yes, it's in their, all their friends will be talking about it. They all,
Yeah.
I'll go in and do it together, and then it's taken care of.
Okay, yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was something we had to handle like
No.
before, like now. So,
Nope.
okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll just do the other question with phys ed that, yes, it's every other day, but our 9th and 10th grade classes are combined. Our 11th and 12th grade classes are combined. We haven't gotten to a point where we mix freshmen with seniors for a variety of reasons, especially if we had mixed classes and, mixed genders with, 9th graders who are 13, 14 and seniors who are 18, 19. We're probably not getting to that. So the classes are on certain cycle days. So, but with the electives, most of our 9th and 10th graders will have, if there's some courses that 9th and 10th graders take and it's every other day, we'll schedule them opposite of their normal phys ed. But that doesn't work for everybody. And sometimes there's conflicts and there's not, we'll try to work with their schedule, move phys ed to a different period. But if they're taking 7 classes plus phys ed, and trying to fit in band and chorus and orchestra or band and chorus, it sometimes gets a little complicated and there's only so many periods in a day. So they might have to make some choices to give up something. And unfortunately, phys ed cannot be one of them because that is a mandate every single year, every quarter.
Yes. So if I remember right, Regents exams were canceled last year or maybe the year before. Does this affect the Regents requirement diploma or advanced diploma? No, those exams were obviously canceled due to COVID, and on all those students' transcripts, it reads exempt. So if they were signed up for the class, they passed the class, they were exempt from the Regents exam. And it will show that on the diploma or a transcript.
And this year, right now, I don't anticipate any Regents exam being exempt. The U.S. history exam for juniors, every junior will take it. I think it's on June 1st or June 2nd. It's a special exam being piloted. That was canceled last year. It will not be this year, as far as I know. So juniors will take that early June. And then all the other Regents exams will be given and kids will have to take them during the Regents week. And we just kind of found out today, unfortunately for seniors, the seniors who are taking Regents physics or juniors taking Regents physics will have to take probably the Regents physics exams this year. We're not going to be able to exempt them from that. We did that kind of internally last year because the exam was 2 days after graduation, which if you're a senior, I can't imagine coming back to take a test, but that's where it now falls, even though our graduation date has never changed. It's always been Tuesday night, but the Regents physics was always offered earlier because it's a senior type course, but now it's 2 days after graduation and nobody's going to be happy coming back to take that. But I think that's where we are.
Tom?
Yes.
Just real quick, just because I was a little unclear on this. Do kids who are taking AP Physics 1, do they take the Regents exam or no?
Nope. Some
No,
schools,
they-
some schools require all the physics kids to take the Regents so that
Yeah.
I think it looks good and it helps their scores. We do not,
Okay, so they just take the AP exam.
correct.
All right, great, thanks.
You can tell your child that we're gonna change that this year and play a joke on them, but
I also had a question about the physics regents. If your child has taken the, what is it, 3 other science regents that come in the sequence before that?
Yep.
Do they not have to take the physics regents then? Or you're saying that they do now?
well,
If they're signed up for physics, they need to take the physics regent. If they are not, and they choose, they have the 3 years, they have that earth science, living environment, and chemistry, and they want to take energy and sustainability, or they're in an AP science class, they do not have to take the physics regents.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I had trouble hearing you for a second, but you said if they're in physics now, they have to take the regents?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
you know, we say it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, well, what I will say is if they met all of their graduation requirements, like I'm thinking of a couple seniors who are, you know, I guess this is gonna be tape, maybe I shouldn't say it. But if I had a senior and they're heading off to college early, like they graduate Tuesday night, and I've had many kids who say, I'm heading to my orientation and I've gotta go and I wanna go and everything else is done except physics. The worst thing that happens is on their transcript, it's gonna show ABS for absent for the physics regents. Some colleges might question that, even if you've already been in, and they're gonna get their final transcript, why didn't you take your regents exam? That could happen. And that you'd have to talk to your college about, and I would ask them that question before you skip it. But if you did, your transfer is gonna say ABS, you're still gonna get course credit, and the exams no longer count into your average. So you're not gonna be penalized, but the hope is that if you finish this entire course, you're just gonna finish the final exam. And that's what colleges like RIT told us, that if a student signed up for a course and there's a final exam associated with it or an assessment, they would expect you to take it. And if you don't, they would question it.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yep. Any other questions? It's just a little bit after 1.
Let me see if I can squeeze in another question here.
And if you
My
need to jump
son-
off, by all means, you're not going to offend us if you need to go or you got to get back to work. I appreciate you all coming. Jenny and I'll stay in a few more minutes before our next meeting. And Ravi, go ahead.
Yep, thank you. My son's in 9th grade and he was talking about taking a course over summer. I think it was Algebra 2 or something like that. How does he go about doing that? Does he work with the counselor? Does he work with the teacher? Can you touch on that a little bit, please?
Hi, Robbie. He would work with his counselor and the head of the coordinator for the math department and the what are the learning, what's the other considered? Instructional leaders. So Andrea Doyle and Tracy Pierce. They would help guide any student who is planning to take, in particular, math is very popular, credit by examination over the summer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, we hope to see you all tonight at our college and career night. We have some really great offerings. The start time says 6, and that's really just to kind of get parents in and parked, but the first presentation doesn't start until 6:15, and that goes until 7:05, and then the second presentation, or 7, and then the second presentation starts at 7:05 and goes until 7:50. We have some really, really awesome breakout sessions, and we invite all of you, and if your child would like to join, to come and see us tonight. And Dr. Hall, were those workshop offerings sent out with your?
Yes, the link to all the offerings tonight, it's similar to the program of studies. It was a 2 or 3 page flyer that you can click on the link in the college career night Parent Square email we sent, and you can click on that, see what the names of the events are, and then you read a whole description about what they are if you needed more information. And I encourage students to come if they are interested, because they can learn a lot from this, just like you as a parent can. And thanks to the counselors for putting it all together. It's probably the best one now in the county as far as college career nights go. Nice job, Jenny.
He's a little biased.
Yeah, but we did our homework.
Yeah, we did. We went to a bunch of other schools.
2013, 14, we went to probably 4 different college career nights, and we took the best of everything and made our own. And it gets better every year.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Becky. And I don't know if Leslie was on. Thank you. I don't know if she was on. All right. And we'll get this out to everybody tomorrow afternoon.
Thanks so much. We'll see you tonight.
All right.
Thank you.